Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight in Nigeria, gunmen kidnapped 8 secondary school students. The pupils from Awon Government Secondary School in Kaduna State were taken after the gang had earlier abducted others. Also in DR Congo, Doctors Without Borders, or Médecins Sans Frontières, warn that many of the million people forced from North Kivu by M23 rebel attacks are living in appalling conditions. And it'll pay to go green in South Africa. Cape Town will soon be able to buy power from independent producers who feed into the local electricity grid. But first, at least 8 children have been kidnapped in Nigeria's northwestern state of Kaduna. The captives are students at the Awon Government Secondary School who were taken as they left class on Monday. The gang behind the abduction had earlier taken several other people. Kaduna has seen a rash of mass school kidnappings for ransom over the years, although there has been a recent lull. Samuel Okoye joins us now with more. Sam, so 8 students were taken, others also. What more can you tell us about what happened?
Well, the information we have is that contrary to initial information, these students were not taken from their school. They were actually on their way home after close of the day when these gunmen who were out for other things, I mean, they had earlier kidnapped some other people, and when they saw these children, they decided to take them along. So there were between 8 and 10 children who were taken in this particular incident. And I would say this incident is coming about a day after we had a similar incident in a school in Zamfara State where gunmen broke into an hostel and took away some female students.
Now, the government has been trying to stop the end of ransom payments to kidnappers. Does that look like it's had much of an effect, and is it likely to affect what happens now?
Kaduna State is the one that actually led this campaign that the government said if families don't pay ransom, then these people will not carry out abduction. But we've seen the result of this, that when people are abducted and they refuse to pay, they start executing them. We've seen lots of executions that have taken place because families refuse to pay ransom. So families have defied the government order. They are openly soliciting for funds to pay ransom. So I imagine in this case also, the families would rather pay ransom rather than allow their loved ones to be executed by these highly ruthless gunmen. The burden is strongly on the government. If you say people should not pay ransom, then people expect that the government should be able to stop innocent people being kidnapped. And if this happens, then the government should be able to rescue them. But we've seen over the years clearly that the government is unable to stop incidents of kidnapping, and the government is unable to rescue people. We've had instances where abductions like this happen, and the police will even tell families, please raise money and see how we can rescue your loved ones. So I imagine these families would rather rely on contributions rather than relying on the government to rescue their loved ones.
Thanks very much. Samuel Okoye there for us in Lagos. Now, in DR Congo, Médecins Sans Frontières, or Doctors Without Borders, has warned that not enough's being done for the over 1 million people who fled North Kivu since the resurgence of M23 attacks last year. DR Congo's extended martial law in North Kivu for another 2 weeks, and on Monday, South Sudan sent another 300 soldiers to the East African Regional Force helping Kinshasa fight the M23 rebels. Now, this year, the insurgents missed several deadlines of a peace agreement with DR Congo's government, but they have now finally moved out of the strategic town of Bunagana. Our Anesti Tudier tells us more.
Bunagana had been under the control of M23 militants for over 9 months. Ugandan troops are now deployed there after the East African Regional Force re-entered the eastern Congolese town as part of a mediated deal with the rebels. The regional force is hoping to get the M23 to withdraw from areas in Rutshuru territory. Meanwhile, other troops from Burundi and Kenya are deployed in Masisi territory. The East African Force is helping peace efforts in DR Congo's east, but its mandate, and particularly the arrival of Ugandan troops, has proved to be controversial, including at the Congolese National Assembly.
We all remember that in June 2022, Uganda was cited by the United Nations as a country that served as a rear base for the M23. We don't understand how such a country that must be considered an aggressor in the same way as Rwanda, a country that was condemned in 2005 by the ICC for crimes committed on Congolese territory in order to pay damages to the DRC. I say we don't understand how a country like that can possibly be considered a partner country.
Another point of contention is how the Congolese army will take over areas freed by the M23. The insurgents are gradually withdrawing, but have insisted that before the Congolese army move into vacated territory, the government commit to further talks with the M23. But Kinshasa said that the army won't be subject to such conditions when operating on Congolese territory. And areas currently being managed by the East African Regional Force will be gradually handed over to the Congolese armed forces.
Now, DR Congo's spending on battling the M23 is just one of the factors that's fed into a spike in prices. The Congolese franc has also lost about 15% of its value against the US dollar since January. Shoppers are all feeling the pinch, but as always, it's the most vulnerable who are hardest hit.
Less for more. Shoppers in Kinshasa are feeling the crunch as the Congolese franc continues to plummet against the dollar.
Before, we used to buy a bunch of leaves, like this one, for 500 francs, but now it costs 3,000. What are we going to do? Where will this situation take us?
Sellers, too, say they're struggling to maintain their profit margins. The increase in prices has been felt across the board, from food to transport. The Congolese franc has depreciated by around 15% against the US dollar since the start of the year. The drop in the currency has contributed to pushing prices up, especially since the DRC has one of the most dollarized economies in the world. This means that dollars are accepted in many shops and restaurants, and that people make their most significant purchases in dollars. But people are usually paid in the local currency. At this currency exchange market in Kinshasa, there's a surplus of francs and not enough dollars.
It's a law of supply and demand. When demand increases, so do the prices. And as a result, there is a higher demand for dollars. Everyone comes looking for dollars, and so we end up with too many Congolese francs in circulation.
This situation has been exacerbated by the conflict taking place in the country's east, which has led to increased government spending. Economists say that this has played a role in creating a surplus of Congolese francs on the local market.
Now, there's a big push in Togo to promote the sale of locally sourced tilapia. The fish is the most eaten breed in West Africa, but local farmers long struggled with competition from Chinese imported fish. Now, that was banned in 2018, and since then, the industry's gone from strength to strength.
The largest fish farming estate in Togo stretches across Lake Nangto in the Plateau region. Pierre Akakpovi leads the tilapia industry on the Mono River.
Now our daily harvest capacity is 7 to 10 tons.
Lofty Farm provides technical support to 12 other entrepreneurs established on the lake by the Togolese government. Together, they account for 90% of the national fish production. The company began production in response to the scandal on contaminated tilapia imported from China. Despite its ban since 2018, Chinese tilapia still circulates illegally through the easily accessible borders.
These are the fish that the Chinese smuggle. They freeze them with 30% water and 70% fish.
Everything produced here is organic, starting with the main ingredient, food for the fish. The entrepreneur partners with a deep freezing specialist who buys 60% of his production to market across the country.
Today there are 200 tons of stock of frozen fish in our cold rooms in Lome, and there are still 200 by the lake that can't be frozen because the cold rooms are full. And that's because some people don't want to play fair by supporting local producers.
To support local production, the government had to impose a quota of 4% of Togolese tilapia to be purchased by frozen fish importers. However, according to supporters of the local fish industry, this is not enough because most of the production costs rely on cereal consumption, with their soaring prices.
Imported fish is subsidized through tariff reductions, unlike local fish.
The job attracts a young workforce, with 300 presently working for Lofty Farm.
Our ambition is to produce enough for all Togolese people to have fish to eat and to avoid consuming imported fish.
90,000 tons of fish are still imported into the country. Provided it receives concrete support, Lofty Farm aims to conquer regional and international markets.
And in South Africa, it's going to start paying to go green. Cape Town will soon be able to buy power from independent producers who feed into the local electricity grid. Now, that sparked a record number of residents registering solar installations in February. Nadine Thro tells us more.
In Cape Town's affluent suburbs like this Golf Estate, solar installations are taking place everywhere. Angelo Henry runs his business from home, and he's not letting constant power cuts hold him back anymore.
The long-term outlook looks pretty bleak. So you just got to plan for the worst-case scenario. Also heading into winter, when we expect demand to increase, and you obviously don't want to stay in the dark during winter.
The solar company's owner entered the industry when power cuts started in 2014. Now he gets around 100 customer calls per week.
Usually these gigs or jobs are stock dependent. So the volumes are there, but there's just not enough stock being made available by the suppliers because of the high demand.
A residential solar installation like this one takes a team of 5 about 3 days and costs up to 120,000 rand. The current demand for solar power installations is so high that customers have to wait at least a month before installations can begin. The city of Cape Town will soon buy power generated by residents. They also offer incentives to those who can't afford the switch to solar through a so-called Heroes program.
Only the relatively wealthy can afford to install panels and batteries. So we have designed a program that allows every household to benefit at every income level by saving power at peak periods.
Cape Town's customers already have less power cuts than the rest of the country, who often experience up to 7 hours without electricity daily. But soon other cities will follow, allowing their residents to become electricity suppliers.
Well, that's it for Iron Africa for now. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.